the structural substitution, right, that you can derive, right? Now, glucocorticoids are normally released when there is more stress. That's why it is also called as a stress hormone, right? Wherever hypothalamus feels more stress, right, your body is under stress, then in such a case it activates the loop of the hypothalamic pituitary loop, right? So hypothalamus releases CRH. CRH refers to corticotrophin releasing hormone, which in turn activates the release of ACTH from the anterior pituitary gland, and ACTH then finally activates your zona fasciculata to release the glucocorticoid. So in response to stress it is released. That's why it is called as a stress hormone, right? So important effect that could relieve the stress is it will increase the blood sugar level, right, so that the cells will get energy. It will produce anti-inflammatory action, it will produce immunosuppression action, lots of metabolic actions and immunoinflammatory actions will be produced, which could help in reducing the stress. Okay, but this is a short-term phenomena. Long-term release of glucocorticoid due to stress can produce detrimental effect on your body. Okay, so effects that are on the metabolism. Now you need to remember for every hormone that whether it is anabolic or catabolic. Anabolism means to build up from small molecules to a macromolecule, large molecule. Like say for example, glucose is converted to glycogen. It is called as a anabolism. But if glycogen is converted to glucose, macromolecule is divided into small molecules, simple molecules, it is referred as a catabolism. Just like thyroid hormones, we have referred T3 and T4 are catabolic hormones. Glucocorticoids, catabolic hormone, right? But then say for example, if it is insulin, it is anabolic hormone. Okay, so likewise you need to remember, if you are able to remember this single word, that whether your hormone is anabolic or catabolic, then you will be able to make all physiological action, right? It is very easy to remember, right? So here catabolic effects, that means glycogen will be broken down into glucose. That's why hyperglycemia, amia refers to blood, hyper refers to increase, glyca refers to glucose, right? So increase in blood sugar level. Gluconeogenesis, genesis refers to formation, gluco that is glucose, neo means new. So new glucose formation, new means apart from glycogen, right, that is from the fat. It could be protein also, but here mainly it is derived from fat. So from fat glucose will be derived, that's why it is new formation of glucose. Okay, similarly lipolysis, that is the breakdown of large lipids, similarly breakdown of the proteins, right, and also inhibition of the formation of new peptides, utilization and cellular uptake of amino acid, right? So these are all catabolic effects that you can summarize. Long-term effect on the calcium, that it activates the osteoclast cell, right? Osteoclast are the one which is they are involved in resorption of the bone, and they inhibit osteoblast. That means the calcium will migrate from bone to blood, so calcium level in blood will increase, but the component of calcium in bone will be less, so that will make your bones porous. Osteo refers to bone, porosis formation of porous structure, right, which are prone to fracture, right? Bones will be weak, that is called as osteoporosis, right? So it can also affect calcium balance. Very important effect which are important with its effect as a medicine, right, that you will learn in higher semester, that they can inhibit some of the gene transcription of inflammatory mediators, right? In such a case they are very good anti-inflammatory hormone. Okay, so they can reduce the inflammation, that's why anti-inflammatory. Similarly, if it is an inflammation or an immune response created by allergen, then also anti-allergic effect could be produced. So that's why it is also referred as a anti-allergic hormone. Okay, another important thing is it is able to suppress the immune response, which is very important with regard to T cells, and that's why they are widely used in organ transplantation or some autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, myasthenia gravis, rheumatoid arthritis. These are autoimmune disorder. What do you mean by autoimmune disorder? Autoimmune means your body cells are not able to differentiate between self and not non-self, right? That means they attack on their own cell, and because they attack on the own cell, they create damage, and that's how the disease are produced. Okay. Similarly, organ transplantation, what is the problem is, even if the donor is a close relative, then also there is a chance that the surface protein, right, which are located on the cell, right, they are different. Because of this difference, the transplantation of organ will create an immune response, and this immune response definitely will not allow that organ to be, you can say that, fixed in the patient's body. Such a case, it will lead to rejection, right? So such rejection response are very common in case of such surgical processes, and to reduce the effect of such rejection, you need to give a high dose steroid for longer duration, right? So that's a very important role as a medicine, right, what you call as an immunosuppressant, right? So these are two very important things which you need to remember: anti-inflammatory action and immunosuppression. Okay. Apart from that, it is stimulating the process of erythropoiesis, that is production of RBC, and glucocorticoid and mineralocorticoid, because they are just very close relatives, right, in terms of structural characteristic. It is having a weak mineralocorticoid activity, that means it is able to retain the sodium and water, right? So weak mineralocorticoid activity is present in glucocorticoid. Similarly, mineralocorticoid also have a weak glucocorticoid activity. Okay. So very widespread action, but major action, as we have focused, they are on the metabolism, and that's why we have referred it as a glucocorticoid. But not to forget, effect on calcium, anti-inflammatory and immunosuppression actions are also very important to remember, and they could be asked in the exam, right? Adrenal gland normally is asked, is frequently asked question in the examination, so you need to remember all these action. Okay. Follows circadian rhythm, right? Just like melatonin, if you remember, melatonin is a hormone from pineal gland, right? And you know that you have a deep sleep, right, and in the night, because the dark you can say that phase, right, of the daylight phenomena and day and night phenomena, so that dark phase induces release of melatonin. Such a case, you have a deep sleep, right? These level are least in the morning, and that's why you wake up in the morning. Similarly, glucocorticoid also follows such type of, cortisol also follows such type of an rhythm, right? But it's exactly opposite to melatonin. Cortisol levels are highest in the daytime, early morning, right? Not early morning, but then around somewhere around 9 a.m. then reduces, and then at night level they are at the least level. Okay. So such are the 24-hour cycle, right, that is followed by these two hormones, right? Also for ACTH you can consider, and this type of an cyclic changes, they are referred as a circadian rhythm, right? Rhythm means they are having a regular phase of a cycle. Circa, that means it is 24-hour, and a die means it's been died off, right? So this phenomena is following a 24-hour cycle, that's why circadian rhythm. So this is how the control of cortisol secretion takes place, right? You know that there is a negative feedback loop, right, auto-inhibitory mechanism, but then the overall effect is regulated through hypothalamus, right? So there are circadian rhythm and there could be stress. This too will give a signal to hypothalamus, which will further release CRH. CRH refers to corticotrophin. Remember, what is the synonym of ACTH? ACTH is adrenocorticotrophic hormone, but synonym of ACTH is corticotrophin. So one which can stimulate the release of corticotrophin is corticotrophin releasing hormone. Okay, so once released, it will increase the action or release of the ACTH from the anterior pituitary. ACTH once released, it will go to adrenal cortex, where it will stimulate cortisol. Once released, cortisol will have an immunosuppression action, effect on the metabolism, right, effect on the protein, glucose, lipid metabolism, right, and anti-inflammatory. These are all the overall action, right? If actions are produced, then this higher level of cortisol will inhibit ACTH. It will say that now there is insufficient cortisol, no need to release ACTH. Similarly, the message could be sent to hypothalamus that no need to release CRH, right? This is called as a negative feedback loop, right? Normally the hormone levels are controlled by this type of a negative feedback loop. Okay, same thing is being again explained, right? You can just see that plasma cortisol level can give message to the anterior pituitary gland as well as to the hypothalamus. Okay, as we know that if cortisol levels are normal, then definitely it will lead to a normal action, but if there is an abnormality, either hyper or hypo, then it could lead to some disease. So hypersecretion of glucocorticoid is referred as a Cushing's syndrome, right? Cushing syndrome, that means there will be metabolic defects. Say for example, you can just see that because the protein catabolism is more, right, that could promote edema like symptoms, plethoric type of a chick, right, red chick, and that you can just see that is expressed as a moon face, which is a very important physical characteristic. Similarly, lipids will get migrate because the subcutaneous fat lipolysis will be the case. This fat will now migrate to this region of the shoulder, right, back region, and also the abdominal fat also will increase. So this will lead to a characteristic buffalo hump